Chosen one, if you clicked on this message, I don't believe it was an accident. There are thousands of videos you could be watching right now, yet somehow you're here. And that matters because there are moments when God doesn't shout to get our attention. He whispers. Only those who have learned to listen can hear him. Last night, at a time when the world was silent, when distractions had finally disappeared, when even your worries paused for a moment, heaven whispered your name. Maybe it wasn't literally at 3:17 a.m. Maybe you were asleep. Maybe you were awake but didn't understand why you suddenly felt restless. Maybe you woke up for no reason and looked at the clock before drifting back to sleep. You thought it was random, but what if it wasn't? Scripture tells us that God often speaks during the quiet hours. Samuel heard God's voice while everyone else was sleeping. Joseph received divine direction through dreams. Jacob encountered heaven in the middle of the night. The darkest hours have always been the place where God prepares the brightest mornings. Chosen one, there is a reason your spirit has felt different lately. You've been sensing that something is changing, not around you, inside you. The conversations that once excited you no longer satisfy you. The places that once felt comfortable now feel temporary. You've started protecting your peace. You've become more selective with your time. You've noticed yourself pulling away from unnecessary drama. You wondered if something was wrong with you. But nothing is wrong. You're growing. When God whispers your name, he begins changing your desires before he changes your destination. He removes the appetite for things that no longer belong in your future. That change can feel lonely. People around you may not understand it. They may think you become distant, quiet, different. But they don't realize heaven has started preparing you for an assignment they cannot see. Chosen one, the whisper wasn't simply to comfort you, it was to awaken you. Because you've spent too long believing you were waiting on God, when in reality, God has been waiting on you, waiting for you to stop doubting, waiting for you to stop measuring yourself by your failures, waiting for you to stop asking whether you're enough. Listen carefully. Your past has been speaking louder than God's promises. Every mistake, every rejection, every disappointment, every closed door. You've allowed them to define who you are. But heaven never calls you by your failures. Heaven calls you by your purpose. Gideon was hiding in fear when God called him a mighty warrior. Peter denied Jesus, yet he was still chosen to build the church. Moses believed his weakness disqualified him, but God used him to deliver a nation. God has always spoken to people according to who they are becoming, not according to where they currently stand. Chosen one, the whisper you couldn't hear with your ears. Your spirit already recognized. That's why peace has begun replacing panic. That's why certain opportunities no longer tempt you. That's why you're becoming harder to distract. God is sharpening your focus. Because what comes next requires clarity. The enemy knows this. That's why distractions have increased. Have you noticed how, just as you started getting closer to God, old temptations suddenly returned? Old relationships started reaching out. Old habits tried pulling you back. Unexpected problems appeared. The enemy doesn't attack empty lives. He attacks dangerous destinies. And your destiny has become a threat to darkness. Not because you're perfect, because you're available. God has never looked for perfect people. He has always looked for willing hearts. Chosen one. There is someone watching your life right now. Someone who expects you to give up. Someone who believes your best days are already behind you. But they don't know what heaven whispered. They don't know what God has been preparing in secret. They only see your present. God sees your future. Joseph's brothers saw a dreamer. God saw a leader. David's family saw a shepherd. God saw a king. Others may see your limitations. God sees your calling. Never confuse human opinions with divine truth. The whisper from heaven always carries more authority than the voices around you. Chosen one, sometimes we ask God for louder signs. We want fire from heaven, a miracle, a dramatic confirmation. But many of God's greatest directions begin with a quiet whisper. Why? Because whispers require closeness. You only whisper to someone standing near you. Think about that. If God is whispering, perhaps it's because he's closer than you've realized. Even in the seasons when you believed he had abandoned you. Even during the nights when you cried yourself to sleep. Even when every prayer seemed unanswered. He never left. He was preparing you in silence. Seeds also grow in silence. No one hears roots forming beneath the ground. Yet without hidden growth, there can never be visible fruit. Your hidden season wasn't wasted. It was necessary. Chosen one, the next chapter of your life will not begin with noise. It will begin with obedience. Many people miss God's blessings because they're waiting for certainty. Faith has never required certainty. It has always required trust. Noah built an ark before rain existed. Abraham left home before knowing the destination. Peter stepped onto water before seeing the outcome. Obedience always comes before understanding. Maybe God has been asking you to forgive, to let go, to start something new, to end something unhealthy, to trust Him with an impossible situation. You've delayed because you're afraid, but fear has never been a reliable guide. Faith is. Chosen one. There is another reason heaven whispered your name, because someone connected to your future is praying for an answer. You don't know them yet. You've never met them. But your obedience is part of God's answer to their prayer. Your testimony will strengthen someone else's faith. Your healing will inspire someone else's hope. Your victory will remind another person not to quit. This has never been just about you. Purpose always reaches beyond ourselves. The enemy wants you to believe your life doesn't matter, that you're ordinary, replaceable, invisible. But if that were true, why has he fought you so fiercely? Why have so many unexpected battles appeared? Why has discouragement followed you for so long? Because hell recognizes what heaven already declared. You are chosen, chosen one. Don't spend another day comparing your timeline to someone else's. Comparison steals gratitude. God doesn't write identical stories. Some bloom early, others bloom later. But every season has its purpose. The oak tree grows slower than the flower, yet it stands longer against the storm. God isn't rushing your journey because He's building something that lasts. The delay wasn't denial, it was development. Everything you've endured has been preparing your shoulders for the weight of your calling. Nothing was meaningless. Not the heartbreak, not the waiting, not the loneliness, not the tears. Heaven counted every one, and none of them will be wasted. Chosen one, I believe that over the next few days, you'll begin noticing small confirmations, a conversation that feels perfectly timed, a Bible verse that answers a question you've carried for months, an unexpected opportunity, a burden suddenly lifting, a peace that makes no logical sense. Don't dismiss those moments. They're reminders that God's whisper is becoming visible. Not every miracle arrives with thunder. Some arrive quietly. One decision, one conversation, one unexpected phone call, one open door. Life can change faster than you imagine when heaven begins moving. Before this message ends, I want you to remember one truth. You are not forgotten. You are not overlooked. You are not behind. You are exactly where God's preparation has brought you. The whisper wasn't about yesterday, it was about tomorrow. It wasn't about your failures, it was about your future. It wasn't meant to make you afraid, it was meant to make you ready. So walk into this new day with confidence. Pray with expectation, speak with faith, choose peace over panic, trust over fear, obedience over excuses. Because what God began in secret, He will reveal in His perfect time. And when that day comes, people will think it happened overnight. Only you and heaven will know. It all began with a whisper that spoke your name, a whisper that reminded you who you truly are, a whisper that changed everything. Chosen one, the next chapter of your story has already begun. Walk forward without fear, because the God who whispered your name will also guide every step that follows.